Young Turks, Uygur, Kasparian with you guys. Look, it's not a Friday, but it is a Thursday before Friday. And we have Friday off because I say things that are true. We have Friday off because of 4th of July. I hope you do too. So we could drop the power pass. Should we drop? No. Oh, for God's sake, let's move on. All right. Okay, so I'm in a weird mood, as you can tell. Kind of a good mood. We'll see how the stories go. So we're gonna do two great things here. Part of the reason for the good mood is later tonight, one of my favorite things on the planet, our new show Between Me and Uygur. Come on, it's a fun name, okay? Last week, Tommy Chong had one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. This week, Ida Rodriguez.
It was incredible. Yeah, I finally gave in, started watching. The Tommy Chong interview was bananas. Bananas.
No, you gotta
bananas.
Guys, you gotta watch it for this alone. What was in Tommy Chong's brother's knuckles?
Okay. No, bananas. Bananas. It was so good. It's such a great.
Okay, so it's on twitch.tv/TYT. Twitch.tv/TYT. So tonight live at 8:00 Eastern, Ida Rodriguez. Now you see Ida all the time on TYT, but the reason I love the show is it gives you a chance to have a real conversation about life, right? So did you ever hear the story of how Ida grew up and how she rose up? Probably not, right? You're gonna hear it tonight. You're gonna love it. All right, now one other fun mystery for you guys, because it's a fun mystery for me. It's the beginning of the month, so how are we doing on the thermometer? I have no idea. So guys, that's money carried over from June. Okay, so but can I see 25,000? Can I see 25,000? It's kind of like a hey, happy kind of Independence Day. So tyt.com/go so that we can have fun with you guys like this. All right, Casper, let's do it.
All right. While new coronavirus cases continue to surge in the United States, Trump keeps communicating just how unbelievably delusional he really is. He still thinks that the virus will just go away on its own. This was something that he repeated multiple times early on in the pandemic, and he did so again on Fox Business. Take a look.
We're headed back in a very strong fashion with a V. And I think we're going to be very good with the coronavirus. I think that at some point that's going to sort of just disappear, I hope.
You still believe so? Disappear?
Well, I do. Yeah, sure, at some point. And I think we're going to have a vaccine very soon, too.
Now, of course, Cenk, the virus is not just disappearing. In fact, as it stands today, there are more than 2.7 million cases, confirmed cases of coronavirus in the United States, and nearly 129,000 people have already died as a result. And in the beginning of that statement, he mentioned a V, and what he's referring to is the economy recovering in a V shape. Just want to remind you all that on May 21st, his own advisor, Larry Kudlow, admitted that it's unlikely that there will be a V-shaped recovery. And while there have been some jobs added to the economy in the last month, the truth is there are still tens of millions of Americans who are unemployed, and that number could go up considering all of these states that are now rolling back, reopening their local economies.
Okay, on election day, the V is going to stand for vendetta. We'll see about his V-shaped recovery. In fact, I want to talk about that first, and I'll talk about the mask. So the stock market's still in pretty good shape, and everybody keeps looking at it like, what? Why? I'll tell you why. It's really simple. The government and mainly the Fed just said we'll buy everything. It doesn't matter how terrible your assets are, how high risk they are, how toxic they are. We'll just buy. So it's no longer capitalism. It's just crony capitalism 101. They will study this in the history books for how oligarchs in America captured the government and just gave trillions of dollars to themselves. Now, having said that, like coronavirus, there is a certain reality that you cannot avoid. Science is real, and yes, economics is real. And at some point, this is going to catch up with us. Now, never ever invest based on anything I say. You've got to talk to professionals, and the timing is impossible to figure out, right? But it's not a V. It's going to be, like, in my opinion, it's going to explode in spectacular fashion. Do I look forward to it? Absolutely not, right? You should guard against it to the best of your ability to. I don't know how we're going to guard against it well enough, but guys, the stimulus checks are going to run out soon. The unemployment checks that are elevated because the coronavirus is going to run out soon. Stimulus checks are already gone. Job numbers today were good, but overall, right now we have the peak number of cases. It's not like, it's a second wave. People keep talking about like, I wonder if there's going to be a second wave. Dude, we're in the second wave, and the second wave is higher than the first wave. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not a political issue. It's just numbers. There are more cases now than we have ever had, including at the height in April. So now we turn to the mask. This idea that he's saying that it's going to disappear. Remember, he said it's going to disappear and we're going to get a vaccine. So he doesn't mean like, once we get the vaccine, obviously it'll die down, etc. He means it'll magically disappear, plus we will get a vaccine. No, even if you thought a series of factors, including social distancing, masks, contact tracing, etc., or even herd immunity will bring the numbers down gradually, you still wouldn't want to say that it disappears, because that makes us sound stupid. Well, the only reason you would say it is because you are in fact stupid.
Well, he's definitely stupid, and he wants nothing more than for this problem to just go away, because it would, in his mind, help him get reelected. But this is not something that just goes away, and the numbers prove that. So let me give you where we're at with coronavirus as it stands today. The United States actually recorded 52,000 new cases on Wednesday of this week, and that's according to Johns Hopkins figures. This is a new all-time high. I do want to remind you, as we talked about recently, the former FDA commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, had shared that it's very likely that more than 100,000 Americans contract coronavirus in new coronavirus cases. But there are some parts of the country where tests are not being distributed evenly, right? So there are rural parts of Texas and Florida, for instance, that don't have as much access, to these tests. And so there could be people who have coronavirus and they're just unaware of it. And as we know, many people are asymptomatic when they do contract it. Infections are rising in up to 40 states. About 40% of the United States is now changing course on reopening. In fact, Texas happens to be one of those states where just today it was announced that wearing masks in public is mandated. It's not even just recommended as a guideline anymore. And the spike followed a warning by the public health expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, that the US is, quote, going in the wrong direction, and infections could be more than double to reach 100,000 cases a day. And again, just to repeat myself, former FDA Commissioner Gottlieb said that we're probably already there. And Cenk, when it comes to testing, Donald Trump not only talks the talk, he walks the walk, because he said very clearly that he wanted to slow the testing down in Tulsa. He later tried to after backlash, claimed that that's not what he meant, but his actions prove otherwise. So the Trump administration made a move in a little noticed guideline released on June 23rd by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. CMS said that insurers no longer have to cover COVID-19 testing when employers mandate a test before an employee can return to work, or when someone is tested as part of a public health surveillance program. So if you can remember, Congress had mandated at the start of the outbreak that the tests needed to be covered, that the individual looking to get tested didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. But essentially, Congress did not provide resources for that. And so now the federal government, as the insurer under Medicare and Medicaid, can go ahead and decide what type of rules they have in place before someone gets approved for a free test. And the Trump administration is essentially saying, yeah, if your employer is mandating it, we're not gonna cover it at all. Because they don't want people to feel like they have access to the test, that they can go out there and get a test to see whether or not they are positive for COVID.
So there's two different aspects of that. One is the one you're mentioning, Anna, that, well, if it costs a lot of money, there's gonna be less tests. Donald Trump's gonna be happy, but that has terrible consequences because that means a lot of people that are going into work now will not be tested because it costs too much, and they will spread that within the work, and we will have a lot more coronavirus cases and deaths, which, by the way, does not help the economy, you moron. The second reason that they're doing it, other than Donald Trump's vanity about, I just want to appear to have less cases, is because the health insurance companies don't want to pay for it. So they sent their lobbyists to the Republicans and said, you remember how we made a big deal out of we're going to pay for it? Shut up. No, we're not. We own you. You do as you're told. Now we're not going to pay for it. We already did the marketing. We all already got the good marketing, like, oh my God, we're gonna pay for it out of the goodness of our hearts. Now lie and don't provide it. Because our country's totally owned by several multinational corporations. There's no actual leaders, there's no one representing the people. No, those insurance companies own the Republican Party. By the way, they also own the Democratic Party. So where's the Democrats? That happened June 23rd. Are the Democrats going crazy? Hey, wait a minute. We said there was gonna be free testing. We passed the law. It is not in question. You must have free testing. Nope, Democrats aren't saying anything. Why? Because they work for the insurance companies too. So that's how this game is played. So, and so why does America lead the world in not just cases, but deaths from coronavirus by a lot, okay? Why? Because our government is uniquely incompetent and corrupt. So we have a buffoon for a president who told people not to wear masks. That's so gratuitous. There was no need for it. That doesn't even involve politics. I could see how the number of cases involve politics. The mask doesn't even involve politics, but he did it anyway. So yeah, we're about to head into an iceberg like we haven't seen in a long time. If you think it's bad now, buckle up and brace for impact. Those coronavirus cases are skyrocketing now in Florida, Arizona, Texas, and California. We got a right-wing or lunatic governor and lieutenant governor in Texas. They're not going to mandate wearing masks unless they're in a cold sweat panic. So this thing's about to get way worse.
Well, speaking of masks, there is a little bit of a change in how Trump is talking about it, and I think it has a lot to do with his financial interests. So Donald Trump now claims that he's not against wearing masks in public during the coronavirus pandemic. In fact, he now suddenly thinks that maybe wearing a mask will make him look real cool. Take a look.
Goldman Sachs put out a model yesterday saying that if there is universal masks, it would be a net positive for GDP. We know the IHME model says that if there were universal masks, that it would be beneficial, it would save lives. So if there is an economic benefit, sir, and there is a public health benefit, sir, why not go forward and say there should be mandatory masks all across this country?
Well, I don't know if you need mandatory because you have many places in the country where people stay very long distance. You talk about social distancing, but I'm all for masks. I think masks are good. I would wear, if I were in a group of people and I was close.
You would wear one?
Oh, I would. Oh, I have. I mean, people have seen me wearing one. If I'm in a group of people where we're not, 10 feet away, but usually I'm not in that position, and everyone's tested because I'm the president. They get tested before they see me. But if I were in a tight situation with people, I would absolutely.
You think the public will see that at some point?
I mean, I'd have no problem. Actually, I had a mask on. I sort of liked the way I looked. Okay, I thought it was okay. It was a dark black mask, and I thought it looked okay. It looked like the Lone Ranger. But no, I have no problem with that. I think, and if people feel good about it, they should do it.
I just want to remind everyone that Donald Trump claims that he doesn't drink or do drugs. And for someone who's allegedly sober, it's incredible how fried his brain is, because the Lone Ranger didn't wear a mask over his mouth. He wore one over his eyes. That's a small point to this story. And there is literally nothing that could ever make Donald Trump look cool or strong or brave, because there's just too much evidence of his ridiculous personality on Twitter. But anyway, let me move on to what he previously said and why he's all of a sudden changing his tone. So just to remind you all, during a White House press briefing on coronavirus, he said, "I don't think I'm gonna be doing it. Wearing a mask as I greet presidents, prime ministers, dictators, kings, queens, I just don't see it." And of course, that was after he was seen touring a Ford manufacturing plant in Michigan without a mask, despite being told by the state's attorney general that he had a legal responsibility to wear one. The president told reporters that he wore one behind the scenes, but didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it. Now, if he really thought wearing a mask made him look cool, I'm sure that he would wear one constantly and make sure that the media sees it. He also criticized earlier in May. He was also criticized earlier in May for failing to wear a mask while visiting a Honeywell plant in Arizona. The Associated Press reported that the president didn't want to wear one because he was afraid he'd look ridiculous and that it would harm his reelection chances. And then finally, my personal favorite example of him being against masks previously was a statement that he gave during a Wall Street Journal interview. He said that testing for COVID-19 was overrated and allowed for the possibility that some Americans wore facial coverings not as a preventative measure, but as a way to signal disapproval of him. Cenk, and I think it was important for the Fox Business reporter to mention the Goldman Sachs analysis about how wearing masks can save our economy money, it can help save our GDP. Because I think that's really the number one influencing factor behind why Trump is now changing his tone. He wants the economy to do well, not only for his own political incentives, but also for his own financial incentives.
Okay, so first let's acknowledge that the Lone Ranger had the most ineffective mask in American history. Like if you see a shot of him, like straightforward, it's the most obvious thing in the world who he actually is. Get a real mask, okay? Gee, I wonder who that is. I can't quite tell. If I knew that guy in real life, I couldn't tell at all who he is. Okay, anyways, all right, back to Trump. I'm not having this conversation. In the Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, his staffers, who by the way had coronavirus, ripped down the signs in the stadium encouraging people to wear masks. He's doing an event in South Dakota at Mount Rushmore this weekend where they're discouraging masks. We're not having a conversation about whether Donald Trump is pro-mask. He's been anti-mask the whole time, gratuitously so. And not even based on politics. I know how selfish he is. I know how he doesn't care about anybody else's life but his own. I know all that. But really, being against masks hurt him politically because it caused more cases, more deaths, and hurt the economy, which hurts his reelection. He did it purely for vanity. It's amazing. It's amazing. One of the theories that I love is that he doesn't want to wear a mask because once he takes it off, it's his makeup's gonna come off with it. So how do you like that? I don't want to wear a mask. I want to appear strong because my makeup might come off with the mask. Yeah, well, but that really makes you look super strong, dude. Okay, and then even in that interview, he's like, no, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I think I look good. I look good in a mask. Who cares if you look good in a mask? Who cares? You're the president. You're not. And so here is the president of the United States with over 130,000 deaths now. How many 9/11s is that, right? We're leading the world by an order of magnitude in deaths. And he's like, well, I don't mind masks because of how I look in a mask. Oh, for Christ's sake. And Anna, of course, the most important part of this is, of course, you're right. That Goldman Sachs report changed everything. So first of all, Goldman Sachs is their boss. So their boss just told him, shut up and wear masks. So he's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. What did he put? 3 people from Goldman Sachs into his cabinet during the 2016 run. He's like, global elitist, go. And he had a bunch of Goldman Sachs pictures up, right? Then as soon as he wins, he's like, oh, Goldman Sachs, please run my company. I mean, my government. Please, Goldman Sachs, right? So now when Goldman Sachs says, hey, bitch, put on a mask. He's like, okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think I look good. I think I look good, right? So but the second reason is because Goldman Sachs did a real analysis, to be fair to them. And yes, not wearing masks, let alone the tens of thousands of deaths that it causes, hurts the economy by 5%, which is very significant and makes it less likely that Donald Trump will get reelected. So now the moron realizes, oh, this is against my self-interest. Yeah. I meant mask. I meant mask. Loser.
It's incredible. Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, Donald Trump has other regrets, including some of the positive things he kind of did as president. So we have that for you and more when we return.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
Third.
All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, Kasparian with you guys. The lunatics over at shoptyt.com are doing a flash sale. Jeez, Lord mercy. What does that mean? Flash, 15% off the entire website. How is that possible? Shoptyt.com. I need you to panic right now. Summer flash sale, 15% off site-wide. Shoptyt.
No, you'd be nuts. You'd be nuts not to buy a Heather hoodie. It is incredible. It is fashionable, trendy to say the least. It's a hoodie that zips in the front. It's got a pocket in the pocket, and it's got those thumb things, which I don't use, but I know that a lot of people like them. So definitely check it out.
I got my new mask in. I got to show you the mask. They're amazing. I'm wearing them everywhere. Okay. Anyways, let me read your comments. Hammer Dan says, maybe a herd of unicorns will haul the virus away in a princess chariot. If you told Trump, he might be like, is that true? Okay. So I am Sock writes, the economy will have a V-shaped recovery like Trump's abs. I don't know why I find that so amusing, but I do. And Meg Kitty wrote a long post, but you're right that it's short-term thinking. The reason he suppresses the test because he thinks, oh, that means lower numbers, but in the long term it creates bigger numbers, and he's just too stupid to realize what long-term thinking is. All right, anyway, I got a fun and a depressing YouTube super chat here. Gina Galagos writes in, just found out I have COVID. I think the anxiety of having it is making me feel even worse. Now I really have no patience for people downplaying this. I've been sick for a week. I hope it goes away. Gina, obviously speedy recovery. We're all rooting for you. And unfortunately, you're not alone. 2.7 million cases in the country. Hang in there. Make sure you take all the precautions. We love you guys. We're trying to keep you safe. And by the way, that's another big difference between the left and the right. The right wing have all their hosts going around minimizing masks, knowing, because they're not stupid. They know it'll kill more people. Their viewers mainly, the left wing's not listening to Tucker Carlson. The right wing is, and they just don't mind as long as it helps their ratings. Whereas we actually give a damn about you. We care about you intensely. So Gina, hang in there. All right. So now, totally switching gears. Cheryl wrote in, and thank you, Cheryl. Wonderful contribution on YouTube Super Chat. And all she says is, Anna's bun 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, when I first read that, I was like, what? And I was like, oh, right, Anna's bun 2020, right, got it. Okay, anyway, all right, thank you for lightening the mood, Cheryl. We really appreciate it. And by the way, tyt.com/go. By the way, the join button is right underneath if you're on YouTube. The first level is just $1.99. That's $2 a month, okay? Just to support the show. And we see your badges and we know you support the show. At the higher levels, you get all of our videos. So please check it out and click that button. All right, Anna, what's next?
All right. It has been 12 days since Donald Trump's Tulsa rally, an event that Herman Cain, a former GOP presidential candidate, attended without wearing a mask. And now it's been confirmed that he's been hospitalized with coronavirus. We don't know if he contracted the virus at the event. What we do know is that people were not encouraged to wear masks at the Tulsa rally. And we also know that Herman Cain has not been very supportive of wearing masks during this pandemic. But in a statement, it was confirmed that he was in fact hospitalized. And we don't want anyone to suffer the consequences of this terrible virus. And we hope that he recovers despite some of the misinformation that he spread about masks. But I do want to just remind everyone that previously he had taken a picture when he was at the Trump rally in Tulsa. And in that photo that he tweeted, he also included the line that here's just a few of the black voices for Trump at tonight's rally, having a fantastic time. And you can see everyone like in close proximity to one another. And then on July 1st, meaning literally yesterday, he tweeted, masks will not be mandatory for the event, which will be attended by President Trump. People are fed up. And the event that he was talking about was the South Dakota Mount Rushmore 4th of July celebration, where the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, said that she will not make masks mandatory and they will not be following social distancing guidelines. Herman Cain promoted that yesterday.
So really important, they announced Herman Cain's got coronavirus today, but they've known for a couple of days. So presumably his staff put out a tweet saying people are fed up with masks, full well knowing that Herman Cain has coronavirus, partly because he didn't wear a mask. So, wow. I don't know if that's just his staff saying, who cares if our boss dies? It's more important to our paychecks to do this propaganda that we're all paid for. Or if they think, well, our guy's down anyway, who cares if more right-wingers get infected? Did the check clear or did it not clear? That seems to be the main question at Herman Cain headquarters. And so I got news for you, Herman. The check's not gonna clear if you're dead. So we're the good guys, so we're rooting for you to get better. He's in his 70s. I am worried about him. And we don't want anyone to obviously to get sick or to die from this. But I do have to say, if you're in that picture and you're all smiling, oh, black folks for Trump in Tulsa, Oklahoma rally, and here we are all closed up together with no masks like a bunch of idiots. You gotta be in a panic right now. That dude right in the middle has coronavirus. The chance of you having it is now intensely high. And by the way, there's also some older folks in that picture. But if you're an African-American Republican, you probably signed up for a lot of counterproductive things. So, okay, I guess mark this one up for another one. Oh my God, are you offended? Hey, Candace Owens, are you offended? Okay, anyway, So they apparently asked Herman Cain if he wanted a mask, and he said 999. So I don't know when I get to have Schadenfreude over this, but is he still smiling, Brett? Is Herman Cain still smiling? Let's check in to find out. I guess he is. I guess he is. Look, we kid around because for the moment being, we don't have any word on his condition or whether it's worsened or not. So if it does worsen, then I'll feel sick to my stomach. Not about what we said. It's not on us. It's on him to do the right things. But just as a human being that he's going through that, right? But guys, part of the reason we do this is, for God's sake, wear a mask. Do not listen to idiot right-wingers. So otherwise, you're gonna be in a situation like Herman Cain. Science is real. Hashtag science is real. And if you think it's not, you're in for a rude awakening. Science does not care about Fox News propaganda. It's not like, oh, I was gonna go and infect Herman Cain, but you know what? Tucker Carlson says that I shouldn't and that I'm not real, so I won't infect Herman Cain. That's not how science works. So gravity is real, coronavirus is real, and if you don't wear a mask, you're endangering your life.
All right. Well, in other news today, it looks like there is a rivalry between Donald Trump and his own son-in-law, Jared Kushner, especially when it comes to policy advice that Trump received from his son-in-law. We love the drama. Another episode of As the White House Turns.
Made some very big mistakes. I asked for his resignation.
I'm disappointed in the Attorney General.
Jonathan Swan over at Axios is reporting that Donald Trump regrets passing criminal justice reform. And look, if you are a rational human being, then you would have known that Donald Trump never really cared about criminal justice reform, and the First Step Act was toothless to begin with. And you should have known the second Donald Trump was inaugurated and decided to reinstitute the use of private prisons for federal inmates. But anyway, here's what the latest is based on Axios's reporting. One person who spoke with the president interpreted his thinking this way: no more of Jared's woke-ish. Another said Trump has indicated that following Kushner's advice has harmed him politically. So Jared Kushner apparently was the influence behind the scenes, the person who was encouraging Donald Trump to provide pardons to certain nonviolent offenders, to pass criminal justice reform. And apparently Trump realized that he is so racist and so terrible to minority communities that small effort would not actually lead to people of color voting for him over a Democratic challenger. So Trump dipped his toe into police reform under pressure after a Minneapolis police officer killed George Floyd, and an executive order that activists consider toothless, but he will likely go further to restrain, he likely will not go further to restrain law enforcement officers moving forward. So there was the initial criminal justice reform, and then if you guys can remember, there was the executive order after the protests started, which essentially would do nothing, but it was enough to make the law enforcement community frustrated and angry with him. Conservatives have been angry with him. More importantly, someone he watches regularly on Fox News was angry with him. That was Tucker Carlson, and after he watched this segment, he decided to change course and move away from criminal justice reform. Take a quick look.
No one has more contempt for Donald Trump's voters than Jared Kushner does, and no one expresses it more frequently. In 2016, Donald Trump ran as a law and order candidate because he meant it, and his views remain fundamentally unchanged today. But the president's famously sharp instincts, the ones that won him the presidency almost 4 years ago, have been since subverted at every level by Jared Kushner. This is true on immigration, on foreign policy, and especially on law enforcement. As crime in this country continues to rise, Jared Kushner has led a highly aggressive effort to let more criminals out of prison and back onto the streets. This is reckless. At this moment in time, it's insane. It continues to happen.
So Trump has now made clear, Cenk, that he wants to support law enforcement unequivocally, and he won't do anything that could be seen as undercutting police. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Kushner, but he seems to regret taking Kushner's advice.
Yeah, I mean, he's going as usual full racist, especially when it comes to Black Lives Matter. But I want to be clear about something and then come back to an important part of why he's listening to Tucker Carlson. So there's two different reforms that people are talking about. There's a criminal justice reform that was passed, and some people say that that was not enough. Of course, it's not enough, but the question is, was it a good start? I actually think it was, and I know Van Jones took some heat recently for being part of that effort. I don't agree with that. I think that what he was trying to do was constructive and productive, and I think people on the left try to tear down constructive people too much. I'm keeping it real, okay? So you can tell that it was real because now Trump regrets it and Tucker Carlson hates it. So it actually did have an effect. It is a good beginning, and you could tell by the right-wing reaction. Like that goddamn liberal Jared Kushner made us do it. Now that's ridiculous to call Jared Kushner a liberal, but that bill was not bad. And I have given Trump credit for that in the past because we actually care about the truth. Now, the second reform they're talking about is the so-called reform that Trump proposed after George Floyd got killed. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I hear there's police brutality. All right, let's ban chokeholds unless you feel like it. First of all, banning chokeholds is incredibly minor reform. Chokeholds are banned in most places anyway, and the cops do it anyway, and they get away with it anyway. And in this case, he wasn't even banning it. He said if they feel like they're in danger, they can do a chokehold. Well, they don't do a chokehold because they're out to lunch, right? They do it because they claim they feel like they're in danger. So it was useless and on purpose, because at that point, Trump had already turned away from criminal justice reform and thought, oh, no, it's better to lean into my base and to be vicious against black people. So now why is he listening to Tucker Carlson? According to the reporting, it's partly because Tucker Carlson is now the #1 rated host on Fox News. So he's like, he's got good ratings, so he must be right. You idiot, with 1% of the country watching you, you have the top rated cable news show in the country. There's 330 million people. You've got 3 million people. You got the top show, but that's still only 1% of the country. Look at the polls. The polls say 2/3 of Americans think that Trump has handled the George Floyd situation poorly, including an overwhelming majority of independents. But he does not have the ability to understand that. All he thinks is me on TV, me no ratings, ratings important, me get paid based on ratings. Tucker has good ratings. Me listen to Tucker. Okay, God, what a moron.
Well, we have more on Trump's campaign chaos after we take a break. So also, Gabriel Sherman over at Vanity Fair just broke a story that I can't wait to read about the campaign chaos. So we'll have that for you and more when we return.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, back on Young Turks. First, our sponsor Aspiration. They're gonna plant 10 trees just for you. You open up an account, and every time you use a card, another tree. Another treat. You got to check off the right things. Make sure you look at, because they round up. Anyway, you'll see it. It's awesome. Saves you money. In fact, save money, save the planet. I love that slogan. Okay, so aspiration.com/TYT. Keep your money green. Ooh, I just came up with that. Okay, aspiration.com/TYT. All right, now I'm going to you guys. So. First, our members, tyt.com/join, or the join button underneath if you're watching on YouTube to become a member. Zeke the Pickle Slayer says, of course, there's a rivalry between Donald Trump and Jared Kushner. One of them is sleeping with Ivanka and the other is jealous. Which is which? I'll let the voters decide. Okay, that's highly disturbing and amusing. Pale Blue Dot says, President Trump's famously sharp instincts? When did Tucker become a satirist? I love you guys, you're awesome. All right, and here we go, YouTube super chat. Steve Ware says, I ordered a dark heather hoodie yesterday. Just started watching you guys, but you guys have quickly become my main source of news. By the way, those protesters didn't break the gate, but it won't let me send you the link, Kentucky Progressive. Well, Steve, that's awesome. I love it in a couple of different ways, and please try to send it through the website. We'll take a look at it. I would love to know more about that. Okay, now, he mentioned the products, 15% off, shoptyt.com across the whole site right now. So here's the mask. I love these. If you can read this, you're not practicing social distancing. Sorry, sold about 1,000, might run out. Okay, I was wearing this yesterday. No justice, no peace. Hello. These are 15%.
Did you look like the Lone Ranger wearing that?
Yeah, nobody could tell who I was. Okay, let me show you two more. Okay, the election is coming. Game of Thrones style, love it. Okay, and last one for you boomers out there. No, I'm just kidding. All right, resist. No. Okay, so all right, guys, shop.com. You got it. We gotta go. We got more super fun stories.
The Trump campaign is in complete chaos. People are moving around. There are individuals being transitioned out of their positions. We'll get to those details in just a second. But Gabriel Sherman over at Vanity Fair just published a piece after speaking to some White House insiders and Republican sources who have said that Trump is not in a good place mentally. They describe him as depressed, down in the dumps, despondent. People around him think his heart is not into it, according to one Republican close to the White House. And he is so worried about his chances of getting reelected that he's hitting up cable news hosts like Tucker Carlson and asking him, what do I do? What do I do? In fact, one Republican source told Gabriel Sherman to console himself. Trump still has moments of magical thinking. He says that polls are fake, for instance, but then he has these moments of reality, and that's when he starts getting pretty depressed. One of the things that he's concerned about is the Republican convention in Jacksonville, Florida, which the campaign is coming very close to canceling after it was reported that lawmakers in the state would make masks mandatory during the convention. And so the source who spoke to Gabriel Sherman said they probably won't have it, meaning they won't even have the convention. It's not going to be the soft landing Trump wanted. So there's more, Cenk, but I want to hear what you think.
I can't love this story enough. It has everything I've ever wanted, like the internal dissension, babies crying, all of them attacking each other, and then like confused, pathetic longings, and call it Tucker. What do I do? What do I do, Tucker? You call Tucker Carlson to figure out what to do in an election. All right, here's another one of my favorite quotes from this. So Mark Meadows, the new chief of staff, he's like, we gotta get Brad Parscale out. We're all gonna lose. This is insane, right? But Jared Kushner wants to keep him. Jared Kushner is beginning to lose power. It's a story that we reported earlier today, but he still has tremendous power because he's married to the one person that Donald Trump cares about, Ivanka. And so and apparently Mark Meadows was losing that battle from internally, which he's surprised by. And then he says this, my God, I love this. Mark whined to Mick, that's Mick Mulvaney, the former chief of staff, quote, "Why didn't you warn me before I accepted the job? There's nothing for me to do." Yes, I love it. Look, here's part of what I love about it. The right wing celebrates their ignorance. They're like, oh, we don't need no stinking science. Professors are liberals, man. Journalists bring you information, and information sucks, right? So each one of them, we told them, Donald Trump is a moron of epic proportions. All he's gonna do is humiliate you, never listen to you, and then blame everything on you. That's what he's done every single time. And guys like Mark Meadows are like, no way, man. He's gonna listen to me. I'm gonna be in charge. I'm gonna be the one guy that gets through to Donald Trump. It's gonna be awesome, man. And he goes in and he's like, oh my God, it turns out he's a raving lunatic. Of course, what did we tell you? What did we tell you? I love it.
It's so good. It's so good. So there are other changes within the campaign. I didn't really think this was too much of a big deal, but just to give you some of the details, Trump campaign chief operating officer Michael Glasner, who had been heavily involved in planning the president's rallies, has been replaced by Trump's 2016 Arizona chair, Jeff DeWitt. And that's considered a major shakeup, apparently, at the top of the president's campaign following the Tulsa rally debacle and 4 months from election day. So some of the campaign officials are alleging that it's much to do about nothing. We just want to ensure that Glasner focuses on the multiple lawsuits that Donald Trump is dealing with right now. And that's the reason why we made this transition or this change. But you should also keep in mind that Trump is struggling when it comes to fundraising based on how well Biden's doing. So Biden outraised President Donald Trump with $141 million in a fundraising haul in June. It's the second month in a row Biden and the Democratic Party have outperformed Trump's reelection operation. Trump's reelection campaign also announced that the campaign and the Republican National Committee had taken $131 million in June. So Biden did beat Trump by raising $10 million more than him in the month of June. Also, the Biden campaign says that it raised $282.1 million in the second fundraising quarter, which also exceeds Trump's fundraising haul for that April to June time period. And then finally, Cenk, a video that I'm sure is gonna make you happy considering the bet that you and I are involved in. James Carville agrees with you. You and James Carville seem to have some similarities when it comes to the chances of Trump even continuing on with his campaign. Let's take a quick look at that.
I think there's a significant chance he doesn't run. I mean, this thing is going so poorly. He's so far back. It doesn't even, to me, it doesn't make much sense for him to run. This is the great Moscow Mitch strategy. After Labor Day, we're going to turn on him. That's really going to work. I mean, McSally and Ernst and Sullivan and Lindsey been licking his boots for 3 years and 9 months. But boy, come Labor Day, we're going to get some separation. The chances of that working are zero. He is going to drag the whole outfit down with him.
So, Cenk, how do you feel about the fact that you're in agreement with an establishment operative?
I'm good with it. Okay, so first of all, obviously, James Carville and I do not agree about internal Democratic politics. But when it comes to Democrats versus Republicans, we do agree. I mean, he's saying right there, almost word for word, what I've been saying on the show for a long time about the Lindsey Graham licking Trump's boots. I mean, how many times have I said that on the air? And is there anyone clear on the record that Trump was not going to make it all the way? I said it on day one. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, so now to back up what Carville's saying, what I'm saying, here's more from Gabriel Sherman. I love this quote. Okay, Sherman writes, nervous Republicans worried about losing the Senate are now debating when to break from Trump.
Oof.
Okay, guys, I got one thing to say to you guys. The election is coming. Okay,
they're giving Trump. They're giving Trump until Labor Day to turn things around. I'm very curious to see how they're going to react to him failing to turn things around, because that's certainly how it's looking right now.
Okay, look, I'm going to tell you something. That's real, okay? So the only thing that politicians care about is their own power. So, and unlike Donald Trump, they're not all delusional, and they understand numbers. And so right now, Joni Ernst, they mentioned it in the article, she's a senator from Iowa, and in a total panic. She's like, whoa, I wasn't supposed to lose. I wasn't supposed to lose. What have you done, Donald Trump? Right? And as it begins to dawn on them, and as they start running out of time before the election, there's only 5 months left. Tick, 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 tick. They're gonna realize it's me or him. It's me or him. Trump's numbers in Iowa are miserable, let alone Arizona. He's losing Arizona by 6 or 9 or something along those lines. Martha McSally, was not nice knowing you. Bye-bye. And all these folks are gonna lose, right? So I guarantee you, at some point, this ship is gonna break in half, and they're both gonna go under. And when the Republican Civil War begins, it is going to be awesome and delicious. The election is coming. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the very least, one of the positive things here is that we know that Donald Trump is down in the dumps. We know that he's upset, and you guys know that always makes me feel better. Maybe that makes me a bad person, but I don't care. He's a horrible individual who's done terrible things to so many Americans. But I do want to update you guys on a poll that we had on this very topic. We asked our viewers, do you think Trump will drop out of the race if he's losing badly enough? And look, the majority of viewers actually agreed with me. 69.52% say no, there's no way bad polling would make him drop out. And a little over 30% of our viewers disagreed and said, yeah, he's gonna drop out if he's losing badly enough. So I don't know if anyone has changed their minds in this poll. I still haven't, because even if there's mounting pressure for Trump to drop out, I just don't think that he has it in him to accept that and to actually follow through with dropping out of the race. But who knows, I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'm still gonna be pretty happy because I want him out.
Anna, I think he's gonna drop out. Trump, TYT.com.
You're my boss. Like, you're my boss.
Well, I think I look pretty good in a mask. I think I look pretty good. I mean, I don't know. People are saying I look good in a mask. By the way, can you tell who I am?
Lone Ranger, duh.
Ooh, good point, Brett. This is the moment of your redemption. I was wondering what would break first, Donald Trump. Your spirit or your body?
Okay.
I see.
All right, well.
Has defeated you. I can go all night long.
I know you can, but luckily we're out of time, and our post game is gonna be bananas. Yes, we are gonna talk about the arrest of Ghislaine Maxwell. TYT.com/join.
Join button.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of the Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk, and I'll see you soon.